The DevOps Foundation Course. Lesson 5. DevOps and Other Frameworks. Part 2. Lean and IT Service Management. Welcome to Lesson 5, where we continue our studies of how DevOps complements and draws on other frameworks. In this lesson, we'll look at how DevOps practices relate to and draw on Lean, ITSM. Remember, successful DevOps relies on the adoption and integration of a number of frameworks and methodologies, elements of which may already exist in your organization. We're going to start by looking at DevOps and Lean. Lean IT thinking has its roots in lean production, which is defined as an assembly line methodology developed originally for Toyota and the manufacturing of automobiles. It is also known as the Toyota Production System, or just-in-time production. Lean production principles are also referred to as lean management or lean thinking. Just like Agile, sometimes lean is just a word. Organizations adopt lean to reduce waste. In its most extreme state, lean can mean there aren't enough resources to dedicate to areas like continual improvement. Let's start by looking at some lean terminology. Click on each term to learn more. Lean is a dictionary word meaning spare, economical, lacking richness, or lacking abundance. As organizations are pressured to do more with less resources, many of them have tried to become more lean and identify inefficiencies in how they operate. Lean production is a production philosophy that focuses on reducing waste and improving the flow of processes to improve overall customer value. You can see how this links to the DevOps goal of improving the flow of work from left to right. Flow, also referred to as single-piece flow, describes how people and products move through a process. Anything that blocks or slows flow or creates a bottleneck is slowing down work and creating waste. Continuous flow occurs when people or products move smoothly from the first step of a process to the last, with minimal or no buffers between steps. You might have come across the term Lean Six Sigma. This is a methodology that relies on a collaborative team effort to improve performance by systematically reducing waste and defects. Six Sigma is a set of tools and techniques for process improvement. Lean has its roots in manufacturing. Lean manufacturing is the application of lean product principles to the manufacturing unit of an organization. Lean IT is the application of lean production principles to the IT organization. The diagram on screen shows the lean enterprise. A successful lean enterprise initiative would require empowering everyone in the organization to participate in lean. Remember, lean IT applies the key ideas behind lean production to the development and management of IT products and services. On this screen, you can see some examples of lean tools. These can enable dramatic improvements to be made in the organization. It's important to remember, though, that cultural change is essential to stop the organization slipping back into old ways of working. The examinable tools that we'll study in more detail are highlighted in blue. You might have heard of or used some of the other tools already. If you haven't, why not do some web research to see if there are some you can use in your own organization? There are 5 principles of lean thinking. Remember, lean enterprises must embrace the principles of lean thinking. Pursuing perfection and a lean enterprise involves systematically and continuously identifying and removing the causes of poor quality. Lean focuses on the voice of the customer process, which captures and analyzes customer requirements and feedback to understand what the customer wants. Lean, just like DevOps, focuses on feedback. Click on each number to learn more about each principle. The first lean principle is to define value precisely from the perspective of the end customer. The voice of the customer is essential. It's no good delivering what we think the customer might want. IT doesn't define value, the customer does. The second lean principle is to identify the entire value stream for each service, product, or product family and eliminate waste. Remember we said earlier that if you don't measure something, you can't manage it? This is a similar principle. We have to understand the value stream we are applying lean thinking to before we can improve it. The third principle is to make the remaining value-creating steps flow. Flow means that people, resources, and tasks can move through the process without impediments or bottlenecks. The fourth principle is that as flow is introduced, let the customer pull value from the next activity. In other words, provide what the customer wants only when the customer wants it. You can probably see links here to ways of working like just-in-time manufacturing. From a manufacturing perspective, it doesn't make sense to have huge piles of inventory sitting around in case the customer wants it. It's better to have the right amount of stock at the right time. From an IT perspective, we don't have stock as such, but we need to make sure our processes and resources don't have too much waste or idle time waiting for customer demand. The fifth principle is to pursue perfection. Improvement is not a single event that can be completed and signed off. Eliminating waste is an ongoing process, and organizations need to keep their momentum going. Let's put this in perspective with a quote from author Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. Perfection is achieved, not when there is nothing more to add, but when there is nothing left to take away. How perfect is your organization? The diagram on screen shows the 3 M's of lean. Muda is waste. Muri and mura are potential sources of waste. The terms that are important for your exam are muda and waste, but we'll discuss all the terms as they are common in many IT organizations. Click on each one to learn more. Muda is waste. Any activity that doesn't add value can be considered as waste. Why are we doing it? This concept of muda as waste was defined by Taiichi Ohno of Toyota, the father of Toyota Production Systems, or what we now call lean. Click on the link to watch a short video about how the Toyota Production System was applied in a unique setting. The goal of lean thinking is to create more value for customers with fewer resources and less waste. Remember, the focus is on value and the customer. Sources of waste include defects, deviations from requirements, overproduction, producing more or faster than required, inventory, carrying too much raw material, work in progress, or finished goods, overprocessing, doing more work than is required, motion, moving people or work more often than is required, transportation, moving products between locations, waiting, doing nothing or moving slowly while waiting for a previous step to complete. From an IT perspective, muda examples might include the areas you can see here. How many of them do you experience in your own organization? Mura refers to inconsistency or excess variation. When work isn't standardized, it can cause rework and wasted movement. For example, if we don't have a standard image for our servers, we have to build them from scratch each time. There might be variations between builds, leading to further problems downstream. Muri, or overburden, represents activities where people, processes, or machines are pushed beyond a reasonable limit. Organizations with high muri may find their staff are overstressed and have low motivation and job satisfaction. Organizations with high levels of muri can find they are continually operating at capacity, leading to less flexibility and longer lead times. Many DevOps organizations try and reduce muri by building Slack into their environment. You might have heard of hack days, innovation days, or even just allocating a percentage of free time for thinking. Translated from Japanese, muri literally means overburden, unreasonableness, or absurdity. Let's think about DevOps and Lean with an exercise. Plan to spend 30 minutes on this exercise. Improving the flow of work between development and operations will remove many types of waste. On screen, you can see the types of waste identified by Lean. Think of an example from an IT organization and how DevOps might help to combat it. Do this for each type of waste. For example, transportation. Support professionals might move bits of kits and spares constantly from site to site. DevOps might help identify a set of standard spares that can be stored locally and used instantly. Okay, we're moving on now from Lean to look at DevOps and IT Service Management, or ITSM. Let's start with some key terms. Click on each one to see the definition. This definition is of an IT service and comes from the ITIL glossary of terms. ITIL is one of the world's most well-recognized service management frameworks. A service is a means of delivering value to customers by facilitating outcomes that customers want to achieve without the ownership of specific costs and risks. Let's think about this with a simple example. I'm a customer of a bank, and one of the services I want them to offer is to give me access to my money when I'm out and about. I expect the bank to deliver an ATM network. As the customer, I don't want to worry about where the ATMs should be sited, how they are paid for, or what software they have. I just want my money. Service management is defined as a set of specialized organizational capabilities for delivering value to customers in the form of services. Organizations develop service management capabilities and skills so they can respond to challenges and manage their services efficiently and effectively. For example, if a competitor suddenly starts to take customers away from you, you might have to improve your customer service and support in order to keep your customers. You might have to improve workflows and change management to improve your time to market. Each organization will have specific capabilities for their own market or industry sector. An IT service is a service provided by an IT service provider, made up of a combination of information technology, people, and processes. Customers often view IT services very differently than IT. IT might think the network is a service they deliver, but to the customer, the network is just a way of accessing the services they use, not a service in its own right. Defining services can be tricky and needs customer input, but it's essential to define services from a customer perspective so we know what we are managing and trying to improve. IT service management is the implementation and management of quality IT services that meet the needs of the business. IT service management can include the processes, people, and skills we use to manage IT services. Remember, value is measured from the customer's perspective, so it's essential we understand what the customer wants. Every organization is doing service management in some way, even if they haven't adopted a framework like ITIL. Understanding IT service management is important for your exam, so please study this definition carefully and contact your tutor if you have any questions. We've mentioned ITIL a few times already. You might have adopted ITIL before, or you might never have heard of it. ITIL is a set of best practice publications for IT service management. Its approach is the most widely adopted ITSM framework in the world. ITSM and ITIL codify best practices for IT operations. They describe many capabilities needed for IT operations to support a DevOps-style workstream. Organizations that have adopted ITIL can use Agile and Lean principles to improve their ITSM processes. If an organization is adopting DevOps but doesn't have any existing ITSM processes, they can use ITIL to quickly implement some standard practices in the ops area. These processes can then be streamlined and automated to accommodate DevOps-style faster lead times and higher levels of change. Many people think ITIL only applies to ops, but it actually describes an entire service lifecycle approach based around the 5 areas you can see here. These areas provide an integrated approach to IT service management. The service operation area can be helpful for the ops in DevOps, and service design and service transition can provide structure for fast-moving changes. Some people believe that ITIL and DevOps are opposite ends of a spectrum and won't work together at all. If you search DevOps versus ITIL, you'll see some of the discussions that have been had within the community. Why not spend some time doing some research into these and decide what you think is right? Here's a quote from Gene Kim related to this topic. "It is my firm belief that ITSM and the DevOps movement are not at odds. Quite to the contrary, they are the perfect cultural match." So, how do DevOps and ITSM work together? DevOps covers the whole service lifecycle. It doesn't end with deployment or at early life support. ITSM also covers the whole service lifecycle. It doesn't start after deployment. ITSM processes can help support operations, continual improvement, and value creation. DevOps can draw on ITSM best practices to help it deploy changes more quickly with minimal disruption. Integrating DevOps and ITSM helps to identify, reduce, and eliminate ongoing risks and constraints. Repeatable service management processes can lead the way to stable, continuous delivery and increased flow. On screen, you can see some ITSM processes that enable DevOps. Pretty much every ITSM process will underpin DevOps in some way or another, but these are some of the essential ones. We'll be looking at them in more detail later in the course. ITSM processes need to be well-built, agile, and scalable. They should be reviewed regularly to make sure they are adding value and not adversely affecting flow. ITSM processes can support DevOps by increasing flow, reducing constraints, and creating business value. Before you complete this lesson, there's one more video to watch about an organization's DevOps journey. This video is about 30 minutes long, so consider taking a break and then watching it in your next study segment. There's also a quick quiz to test what you've learned. Click the Next button to move on to it when you're ready. You've completed Lesson 5. We continued our studies of how DevOps complements and draws on other frameworks by looking at DevOps and Lean, ITSM. Remember to complete the lesson exercises before moving on to the next lesson.